We have all felt judged by someone at some point in our life or another, and we all know how it feels. It tears us down. It feels painful. And as we've been talking about what it looks like to use the power of life and death in our tongues and to act responsibly because we understand the power and ability we have to either tear people down or build them up, but I really think it's important we consider that we need to be mindful of the way that we can judge others. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi guys, welcome back to Rooted Growth. I'm Tiffany, and this is a channel based on biblical truth for our everyday lives. We talk about the faith we believe, the actions that come out of that because of what we believe. It's the things that we choose to do to line up with those beliefs, and the growth that we can get from that in our lives as we continue to follow Jesus, not perfectly, but intentionally, knowing that he has a good life for us. Jesus promised an abundant life to us. We want that abundant life, and so we are going to choose to live aligned with Jesus, with the things that he's laid out for us in his word, and to come into alignment with that so that we can see that abundant life take place in us. And so the Lord really cares about it. In fact, I would say it's something that is highly talked about in the Bible, is the way that we speak. Do we speak unkindly to each other? You know, there's a lot that is said that is the Lord being concerned because he recognizes the power that we have, and we need to recognize it as well and be responsible. With great power comes great responsibility, to the point that Jesus even says this in Matthew 12 in verse 34. How could evil men like you speak what is good and right? For whatever is in your heart determines what you say. You're going to speak what comes out of your heart. And the Lord is concerned with what we have to say. He is concerned with what comes out of our mouth because it has the power to bring life or death. Another thing that we have to be aware of is the way that we can judge other people. That is going to affect what is coming out of us. That's something we're putting into us that is going to come out of us. And oftentimes it's where we see it come out in the ways that we are making sarcastic comments, or where we are passive aggressive, or, you know, in the ways where we judge people to be right and good, that then we can speak kind words to them, right? Jesus tells us to be aware of this in Matthew 7, right at the beginning. He says in verse 2, you will be treated as you treat others, or you will be judged as you judge others. For the standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged, or the way that you measure is the way you will be measured. So if I am trying to use this standard to measure, are you good, are you right, then that is going to be what is going to be used against me. And so we have to be aware of the way that we judge others. And this is a topic we could really get into. We could say a lot about this, but one of the things I want to say is that we have to be aware that they are not you and you are not them. So talking to my youth group, I made the point that, you know, even when we're joking with other people, that you do not know what someone else has gone through. You do not know the things that are their kind of pressure points. And so you think you're just joking, even good-naturedly, but that they might have a reaction to that because they are different than you. So growing up, being called a nerd was, because I was a nerd, still am a nerd, was a little bit of a tender spot for me. And so even if my friends good-naturedly were joking with me and saying, oh, you're a nerd, like it would kind of hit a sore spot in me. And we have to be aware when we deal with other people that they are different than us. Yes, they have a whole past and experience and all that, okay? But even outside of that, far too often we think that they don't do the things the way I do them, and so they're wrong. For me personally, I'm a very organized person. I love to be organized. I love planners and highlighters and sticky notes, and I love to take notes, and I love to read, and I love to learn, and I'm very organized in all of that. My husband is less so. That is not the way his mind works. And there are a lot of other people around me that are not as organized as I am. And I have to watch myself because it can be very easy for me to start to judge if they are good based on that one part of them. If they are doing something and they're not as organized about it, like it's so easy for me in my nature, in my human nature, to be like frustrated and judging them and going like, man, they suck at this, and they're, you know, and if that's what is inside of me, that's what's going to come out of me. And I have to watch myself because then I'm holding my tongue But Jesus cares about what's in our hearts as well, because it will start to come out. And so I had to be aware of the fact that God has given me a gift in being organized. Not everyone in this world is organized. Thank God for that. We probably all drive each other nuts with all our different organizational systems and ways that we do it, but you do it differently. And it's a gift God has given me. It's my strength. And I can be grateful in that strength. But just because someone else is weak in it doesn't inherently mean they're a bad person. My husband is very relational. We're both introverts, but he does not struggle to relate to other people or, to be outgoing, to talk to them about their day. He's very pastoral in that way. I am not. I've really had to work at coming out of my shell and engaging with people when I see them and not just silent wave and just move on. And if he were to have been judging me this whole time for being that way, all that would have done is made me feel shame. Because it does not come to me as naturally. I'm not naturally charismatic or, outwardly affable in these sort of ways. And that would have just made me feel bad. Yes, it's something I'm working on, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to try, but I'm not going to be the way that he is. And if we are using these standards to judge each other, guys, we're setting ourselves up for failure. Because if that's in our heart, that's what's going to come out of us. And so when we think in these ways, then we're going to speak and act from these ways. And that does not line up with what Jesus has asked us to do in loving other people well. And it's like we're creating a gap in our ability to give people grace, right? There is grace, and there should be grace. We should be filling that gap with grace of, where maybe your expectations are for someone and where they actually are, because we're all in different stages of learning and growing. If my husband had been upset at me that I wasn't where he was as far as relating to other people, then he would not be able to extend grace to me to fill that gap. If I were to be not extending grace to him, where my expectation of him being organized versus where he is, then we're going to have a distance that we cannot breach. And what tends to happen is we're on this island, they're on that island, and it's a lot easier for us to start judging that other person over there and saying they're like this and they're like that. And if that's what's in us, it's going to come out of us. And then we snap, and then we make a sarcastic comment, and then we say something passive aggressively. And that does not bring life. That would not build that other person up. That would tear them down. If we need to bring correction, we need to speak the truth in love, with kindness, with grace, not in condemnation because they have not met our standards. And when we even operate from this, what we're doing is we're saying, I know everything. I have all the answers. I have full understanding of this, right? I have full understanding that I understand the ways that the Lord made my husband, and I understand what's going on in his mind when he can't remember what's going on the calendar. And I understand that he should be this way and he's not this way. But that's not true. That is not humility, guys. We only see a small part of someone else's life. God sees the whole picture. And so when I choose to judge someone based on this little bit of information I have, I'm setting myself up for failure in loving them well. And what is going to come out of my mouth? Little jabs, destruction, pain. Not edifying, not building up. As we're aware of what comes out of us as we judge other people, that there are things we can do to help us to choose to agree with the truth of Jesus. And so we've talked before about taking that moment and saying, does this bring life or does this bring death? Before we just let those words come out of us, right? Well, I have some other tips for you guys as well. Have you guys ever maybe had a problem with someone and you just kind of feel like you're waiting to just catch them messing up? Or sometimes you felt like maybe someone else is doing that to you. Like they're always just waiting for you to mess up and they're going to point it out when you mess up. We don't want to be those people. We want to be people that speaks life, that encourages people, that builds them up. And so that's what we want to do. And so instead of trying to catch them doing wrong, we're going to catch them doing right. And it's a way that we're going to change the way that we're thinking so that we're not so quick to judge and to be saying, you're right, you're wrong. But it's a way that will help us to speak life and kindness to other people, honestly. Now, when I was with my students, I found that a lot of times when I was quick to always point out what they were doing wrong, that what it actually did was discourage them. They felt like I mess up all the time, I'm never going to be able to do this, and they would kind of struggle and sulk in that. And we feel that way too. When people are just critical of us, we feel like I suck, I mess up, But we can choose to do it another way. It's positive reinforcement. You're not always saying that was wrong, but instead when you catch them doing the right thing, you point that out. You go, wow, that was so great. There are times when correction needs to come, right? I wasn't just letting my students be wild in my classroom. Of course, when something was way out of line, we addressed that. But if, like with one of my boys, if every day I just said, your handwriting sucks, your handwriting sucks, your handwriting sucks, your handwriting sucks, like, is that going to build him up and encourage him? Or am I actually going to just tear him down? So instead, whenever he turned something in, I would say, oh my goodness, I loved how neatly you wrote the title on this page. I love how well you wrote your name. It's so clear. And you know what started to happen? He would come up to me going, Miss Tiffany, look at this. Isn't this neat? I would go, yeah, bud, it is so neat, isn't it? Good job. Now, of course, I'm talking about children, but when we do that with the people in our lives, it builds them up. I love to hear, you did a good job, Tiffany. You know, I teach at youth group and I have been teaching for a while, but it still means something when the other people in my life that I really respect, or even my youth kids, go, that was so good. Like, that makes me want to sit up straighter. That makes me like, I just feel so rejuvenated by that. That brings life to my soul. And we have the ability to do that with other people as well. We have the ability to go, wow, you did a great job doing that. And that brings life. That builds up people. So that is one of the skills that we're going to use. We're going to catch them doing right. We're not keeping our eyes focused on where are they messing up, right? Because all that's going to do is just reaffirm to you what you think you believe. Once again, if all I was doing was sitting around going, where is my husband not being organized? Where is he doing this? Where is he doing that? Then I'm going to get confirmation bias for that. I'm just going to keep going, yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there it is. But you know what I do when I do the opposite? I'm encouraged, and I want to encourage him. So this even happened this week where I was getting frustrated, and honestly, that was on me. But he even said, haven't I been doing better? And that like flipped the script in my mind. And it was like, instead of looking for what was wrong, I looked at what was right. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, I've seen you've actually added these events to the calendar. You've actually messaged me about some of these things and making sure we're prepared for them. And, you know, some of these areas where he's actually trying. He even set an alarm on his phone in the morning to say, check your calendar, because that was something he'd forget to do. And then he'd forget about an event. And he is trying. He is. And when that are the goggles I choose to look at life, what happens is I overflow with gratitude. I overflow with encouragement, because that is what I'm putting into me, right? As I'm looking, like my eyes are, you know, like a gateway into my heart. If that is what I'm going to put into me, then that's what's going to come out, good or bad. And so do I want to participate with the bad, or do I want to participate with the good? That is something you need to ask yourselves this week. And again, I said this in another video, but when you notice the good, speak it out. That reinforces it within us. We can have confirmation bias for the negative, but we can have confirmation bias for the good. And in doing that, we're going to reinforce good behaviors in them and in us as well. If I'm quick to tell my husband, wow, you are doing a great job. Wow, I really appreciate you being on the ball about this thing. Wow, I really appreciate you adding that to the calendar. That encourages him, and that encourages me as well. And it's beneficial for the both of us. Once again, that's releasing these good hormones and chemicals within us that allows us to grow. There was a study about the things that you notice are the things that you're going to continue to notice. They did this study on people who are grateful and these people who are negative. And the people that went around all day going, oh, it's cloudy, and oh, this happened today, and my food wasn't hot enough, and this, and they can see in their life that they continued to have more negative points in their day. But the opposite was true. And they told people, when you notice something good, speak that good out, that number would start to grow. Because if they're going, oh, you know what? It's actually kind of sunny today. And they said that out loud. It's like it opens their eyes more to see other good things. They weren't looking at the clouds. They were looking at the sun instead. They're going along and they're like, wow, look at those beautiful flowers. Wow, look at this beautiful sunset. Wow, look at this. Like, they notice more of those things. They had these people tracking, the good and the bad in their life. And as they were tracking, they were seeing more of what they were paying attention to. So what are we paying attention to? Are we going to pay attention to the good, or are we going to pay attention to the bad? As you pay attention to the good, say it, speak it out. Be quick to affirm. Be quick to show appreciation, because that will build gratefulness within us. This is like Philippians 4:8 that tells us that which is good and noble and pure and lovely and admirable. Like, think of those things. Let's do that, guys. Let's look at other people and look for the good, because that's what we would want as well for us. The measure that you use against people is the measure used against you. I would like to respond to people with grace and love. And the more that I do that, the more I find that that is what people use back for me as well. But if I'm a critical person, people are critical back. I mean, we do that with people all the time. We're like, you know, well, who are they to say this? Because but when someone's kind and stuff, we're like, well, you know, she's so nice. She wouldn't have meant anything by that. And so we see that what we use is what's used against us. But guys, we want to be speaking life and truth. We want to agree with what is good. We want to agree with the good things Jesus has. We're supposed to speak the truth in love. We should be people that love is quick to come out of us. And this is another way we can do that. That we can use the power of our tongues to speak life into people. And that will be the fruit we will get as well. Power of life and death is in the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. I love life, and I would really like to enjoy that as well. So that's what I want to encourage you guys with this week. To be aware of maybe where we've had our goggles on and are looking at people in these judgmental ways, and instead choose to catch them doing right and choose to look at them through a lens of grace, extending that grace to them and seeing that as we use these things to measure others, that it'll be used on us in return. Love you guys, appreciate you guys. Thank you again for watching this video. I'm very humbled by you being here. I really hope that it was beneficial. If it was, please like this video. Please tell me in the comments what was something that really stood out to you, or maybe something that you know this week that you need to change for the better to bring about life. And if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. We would love for you to join our community. We want you here so we can continue to encourage each other and build each other up in the truth that Jesus has for us. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I'll be praying for you this week as you put on your grace goggles to look at this world with grace, with gratitude. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.